we feel like, oh, the US is this really unique bastion of freedom, this really special country. That's a feeling that's strongly held. And yeah, I mean, how much do you think that's true and has been true and has kind of held us up, and how much do you think that's not true at all compared to third world countries?
Well, it certainly was true for many years, with a few exceptions during the Civil War. We obviously came very close to falling apart there, basically because of the disagreement over slavery. But apart from that, we've been unique. I mean, partly uh, leave aside for the time being the effect that both disease and human cruelty had on the Indians who lived here at first, the Native Americans. Um, we attracted a unique breed of people from Europe that were more adventurous. And precisely because they came from different places, many of them were in the same boat. And we were tremendously successful for reasons that certainly were related to the initiative that these immigrants brought to the country, but also geography. It was a tremendous advantage to be as large as we were and have the natural resources that we had and we still have, and the location that we had, which was necessarily protected from European wars and even Asian wars, and we didn't have aggressive neighbors, so we were allowed to develop, we were able to develop, and we, I think, rightly became very proud of what we've created, and that has held us together. We also it was a strongly religious society, and I think religion played a very important role in holding us together as long as it did. Um, there were less class distinctions here. And because we were a federal system, the states were allowed, and our Constitution basically says only the powers that are specifically granted to the federal government can be exercised by the federal government. So therefore, they've reserved so much autonomy and legal freedom to the states that we had a massive experiment going on a lot. And that experiment produced examples that were then copied if they were successful. So we became successful in many ways. In our educational system became the envy of the world, and it still is. Perhaps less so now than it was 20 years ago, but all of this um, helped us stay together. And yet, when I observe our society now, I think most of those advantages are diminishing. I think that we have massive wealth disparity now that we haven't had since the 1920s. We no longer have nearly the strong faith-based component that we used to have. I mean, it's still, there are major segments of our population that are highly religious, but the data show that church attendance and religion generally is no longer nearly as forceful as it used to be, and partly because of the wealth disparity, because we are much more ethnically diverse. Immigration has had a major impact in making us look more like a third world country. Now, I'm in favor of immigration. In fact, I'm one of my pitches now is that national borders themselves were originally created for selfish reasons, and they're essentially an historic anachronism now. That doesn't go down too well with patriots, but I can feel patriotic and still see the damage that these national borders are causing, in the sense that they enable huge militaries that couldn't exist but for the size of these nations, like Russia, like China, like the United States. And those militaries are responding to the will of, in those three examples, one person. And I think that's not useful. But that's another topic. I think most of what held us together has diminished. And part of that is certainly the internet and social media. We're a much more fragmented society now culturally. And this is not just happening in the U.S. I think, whereas we used to have, a few number of principal media outlets, the major networks. Now we have tens of thousands of networks people can choose from, and we simply have become more fragmented socially. So that's going on overseas too. So I don't think we're immune to the same influences that cause so many societies recently. I think within the last 15 years, there's been so many examples of countries that have fallen apart.